Hello, welcome back to EVE-NT TV at Nottingham. We are here joined again by my co-hosts Drechlas and Naiden, but we also have a guest from CCP with us as well. Would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers?
Sure, yeah, I'm CCP Goliath, the QA director for EVE Online. Loosely, I set the testing strategy and standards for the teams and make sure that they've got all the tools they need to deliver some really quality products.
Fantastic stuff.
Awesome. So, with the first question right away, what I was wondering about is how did the QA process evolve over the years? Because you've been with CCP for quite some time now.
Yeah, I just got my my 5-year chip about a month ago. Initially, I actually just came over for 3 months just to do some outsourcing support, and then yeah, they offered me the chance to stay and snapped it up. Yeah, QA definitely has changed a lot. When I first came, I think the team was in the region of 25 to 28 people. Now we sit around 12 to 14. In fact, we have a new guy starting next week. That might sound like we're in any way skimpy on quality, but actually it's very much the opposite. We use a philosophy, I don't like using the word philosophy for it, but I can't think of a better one. It's called whole team quality. I did a talk about it in FanFest 2014, so on YouTube, if you want to check that out. Basically, it revolves around the concept of one analyst per team, preferably, and that analyst, rather than being responsible for testing everything and making sure it's fine, is responsible for making the team accountable to quality standards that the team themselves set. So they'll encourage people on their teams to do some testing themselves, perhaps, or if they've got a programmer, maybe that programmer can write some interesting tools, take a little bit of the manual load off. Designers and analysts will collaborate, with high-level design goals and then mapping out the beats of the actual actions that would represent in game. And then you have not only a great design document that a programmer can take and implement, but you also have a fantastic template for your regression test that our outsourcing team will then go through every 2 weeks and just make sure that we're not breaking the core of the game while we're developing.
So what sort of considerations when you're looking from a front-end point of view for the players? What sort of things are you looking at when you're doing the QA stuff?
It's an interesting mindset to get into, like transposing yourself and then becoming a section of players. I actually am a big fan of like psychographics. I don't know if any of you guys play Magic the Gathering, but their lead designer Mark Rosewater built up these fantastically interesting psychographic pictures of the different types of people that play Magic. It helps them design around it, and we have these too, and design around them. But they're fantastic for testing too, because it lets you just occupy a mindset with a few simple bullet points to consider. Things like when I was doing some testing for the revamped scanning features last September, I was briefly on Psycho Sisters, which was fantastic. Loved. That was my first time on a development team in all my time at CCP. It was real education, getting to work with the devs, as hands-on. Yeah, absolute hands-on, and get involved with the community and get all of their feedback for the features. In getting in contact with these people, I started to develop pictures of how different people use scanning. You've got your super hunters, and they have to just be on like immediate, like no response delay. Their combat probes have to be perfect. Same with anyone who's probing in a big fleet fight. But then you've got your casual guys, maybe your wormhole exploration guys, who they want to scan out a chain. It's going to be long, but they just want it to be a pleasurable experience. They don't want to have to bother with too many clicks, or they'd like little shortcuts in, bookmarking shortcuts, altering the text of the bookmarks and such.
Do you play, just a side question, do you actually just work with do you find yourself playing it?
I've played EVE since before I started at CCP actually, although not long before, maybe about 8 months before. I started in mid 2010 with a few buddies who I was testing with at the time. It was actually in preparation for trying to get the testing gig for EVE, like for our outsourcing company, and I got really hooked. I bounced out hard after my first 2 months, and then came back, a little bit more knowledge, new MPE, and it stuck with me that time. I love wormholes. That's my jam.
You also have can't forget mentioning that you also have a very fancy title. What is it now again?
A title?
Yeah, you said something really interesting. What was that? Director, or what was the actual title that you have at CCP?
Oh no, I'm just the Quality Assurance Director.
Just the Quality Assurance Director.
I'm also on our fun committee. It's a staff alliance where we all like chip in, and the committee will organise little events and stuff. I was just telling a bunch of players about our last Oktoberfest party. Definitely not getting repeated on camera though.
I mean, it must be quite a challenge come from a QA side when dealing with Eve, because it's a sandbox experience. There's so many different play styles and so many different ways that people interact with the game. So what sort of work do you guys do to try and narrow down those different play styles?
I've been doing a really interesting I think it's really interesting. I've been doing a really interesting thought experiment lately with exploring the critical path of Eve. So I figured with alphas coming up, I really wanted us to have an idea of what systems matter the most, and in a sandbox game that's very hard to define. You can't just do it by which systems get used the most, because that's too oversimplified. You need to just drill down and be like, what? So the question I asked, subset of developers, subset of our publishing wing, and all of the CSM, I gave them a predetermined list of features, and I said, tell me which of these are necessary to experience Eve, for whatever their personal definition of experience Eve was. Now, answers varied very wildly. All I asked was just a simple yes or no, but a lot of people put work in, and a lot of the CSM gave very detailed breakdowns of why something was important to them or not important to them. And it was great to get a real insight into how they're interfacing with different parts of the game. But we settled, out of the 38, 40 of us that participated in the experiment, that there's two systems in Eve, two features in Eve that we consider to be absolutely critical. Without it, the game could no longer function.
Like consistently?
Yeah, everyone mentioned these, unanimous.
Awesome.
Only two unanimous features, and that was chat and the skill queue, or skill management, as I phrased it in the test.
Yeah,
That's quite surprising.
Not really, actually, because you need chat to communicate next to TeamSpeak, and if you're not actively playing, what do we tell ourselves? I've been playing skill queue online.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not really that.
Well, it
much
shows
of a
you how
shocker.
important the social aspect of the game is. You come on to set your skills, but while you're there, let's have a little chat with my buddies, see what's going on, or let's post up local a
That's
little
going to
bit.
be, isn't it? I feel it's going to be a crucial thing now that a lot of old players that haven't been active for a while come back with alphas and get into the social part. That's going to be a very central part of how they get back into Eve. Hopefully, is connecting with their old friends via various chats, isn't it?
Yeah, because getting up to speed with what happens in Eve, even if you've taken a 4-month break, can be really challenging.
Yeah, I know.
Especially with our new rapid release cadence. There's so much changing all the time. It can be hard to keep track.
Your fits are outdated faster than you think nowadays, which is actually a good thing. But with alphas coming, QA wise, how are you going to test the waters? Is there something going on there?
It's a very interesting challenge, because we have to estimate scale and think about how certain features are going to scale up. For instance, some considerations might be if alphas have access to PI, and everyone's doing PI, is that going to cause that system to degrade in some way? Is it going to impact, the designers might look at, is it going to impact the economy? We might look at, is all of this work going to impact the, client performance, server performance, things like that? Who knows? It's a really, really difficult question to answer. We're going to be doing a lot of testing on Singularity, mass testing and such, and these will be next level mass tests, I would imagine. The kind of thing that we saw in January when we were preparing for the Tranquility cluster upgrade, the hardware upgrade, we opened up Solace. And reactivated anyone who'd ever had an account in Eve and said, come on, come back to Solace, everything's free, just go nuts. All we want to do is thrash our hardware. We might see something more similar to that, less on the hardware focus and more on the client focus. But
how did that work out, actually?
It was fantastic.
Were there a lot of those inactive players actually coming there and playing it, or was it
hold my hands up
lukewarm?
and say that I don't have firm metrics, but I was hanging down in our operations department. They were running the whole show there, and a lot of beers were getting opened. So I think it was a pretty unqualified success. We certainly saw thousands of people come through the door, and that was really great.
That's a good indicator right there.
Definitely.
So, in line with you now starting to obviously ramp up for alpha clones and things like that, there are other ways that QA can be done.
Definitely. I've mentioned our outsourcing team, and then as our sort of third wing, you could consider our volunteer department, who I just can't speak highly enough about. EK, they're a division of ISD, the Interstellar division. They're a large subset of volunteers. They'll handle, we have Star handling meet and greets in game. You have CCL doing forum moderation, doing the lore. But really, the ones that I prize highest, obviously, are the bug hunters, EK. These guys, I don't think we'd be able to successfully accept player-written bug reports if these guys didn't exist, because they get so much done for us. And we will be recruiting for them very shortly. We've had a bit of a freeze while our internal tools were getting improved, but now we're about a week, maybe 2 out from open full-scale recruitment again, and I'm really hoping we get some numbers in the door.
So what kind of numbers are you looking for?
In terms of like total bug hunters, so the liaison that we have, every volunteer division has a liaison within CCP, and ours is CCP Sledgehammer, who's a QA analyst on Tri Lambda. He has set out a target, I believe, for between 50 and 100 fresh recruits from this one campaign. It's a lofty target. I would estimate we're probably going to get between 25 and 50 successful applicants, because every time we open recruitment, we get hundreds of applications, and that's
What are the requirements for those guys? Like, what are you looking for? Because anybody can say, "Oh, I can do that." But
absolutely. I mean, really, all we're really looking for, you don't need to be a QA professional or have any QA experience. You need to be curious for sure. You need to like to know how things work. Without ever finding out how they actually work, although we do share a lot of information, technically speaking, with our bug hunters, and a lot of them are, like very highly trained professionals. In some cases, I've met volunteers that outstrip my own experience in my domain, and so it's fantastic to work.
That's what happens in Eve.
So when do you expect sort of some news about that to be coming out, and where can people find it?
I believe a dev blog will be coming out announcing the overall ISD recruitment within the next week or so.
So very soon.
Yeah, very soon, and then week after that we'll be following up with one particularly about EK, some testimonials from the existing team, explaining why they got into it, what they get out of it. Interestingly, we've actually 2 of our more senior analysts came directly from the volunteer program, Vertex and Habakkuk. Everyone will know Habakkuk from his time, and Vertex is actually no longer an analyst. He's moved into production now, but still very, very close to the volunteers from his background.
Perfect. So keep an eye out for the dev blog, which should be coming out within a week or so afterwards. Certainly, if you're interested in doing quality assurance with the guys at CCP for the game that you play, check that out. But for now, we're going to finish off this section up. We're going to go to a quick break. Thank you very much for sticking with us, and we'll see you when we get back.